Or if this was a missile like testing site, maybe a missile struck them.
Like a missile range.
Yeah, like maybe something like they were struck by a missile. Maybe that's why people saw orange lights.
Just blew their clothes off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the newest missiles that Soviet invented.
Right off.
Just blows your clothes off.
You don't want to make embarrass you too much. You keep your underwear on, you know. But yeah,
that would be an awesome missile.
But people are like, oh, that explains.
That's
maybe
like a party missile. That's what that is. If the Soviets invented that, the Cold War would end a lot differently.
It shoots vodka in your veins and just like blows your clothes off.
I would have been totally down with that.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of these Serious Pals. My name is Chris, and today I am joined by your best pal. You know him as Jordan. His dad calls him Little Peepers.
Little Peepers.
Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Great.
Little Peepers, I like it.
Well, you're here today. Today you are going to drive the ship.
Yeah.
It's a little driving the ship. It's a little thing for next week, a little wink at next week's episode. If you're hearing this in the States, this is going up the day before Halloween.
No, I think mine will be a week before Halloween.
This is the week before Halloween, yes. And then the next episode will be the day before Halloween.
Spooky season.
Spooky season. And today we got a spooky story to go with the spooky season. But first I'm going to ask you, about what you remembered. There was a big thing, especially when we were when we were coming up, when we were bringing it up, you know, with trick-or-treating. And what do you remember when you were trick-or-treating as a kid? Little wee peepers walking around out there?
Other than it being like, you know, fun, like one of my favorite times of the year, it was that the people were either like putting razor blades in candy.
Oh my God, I was going to say the same. That's what I was going to bring up.
Which I remember looking it up like I don't think it's ever happened. Maybe once. Once.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. There's another mystery. And I was like, I remembered looking through all the, you know, when you get home, you have all your candy and you spread it all over the ground. Your mom's like, we got to look through everything, look for little cuts. And you're just like, dude, this sucks because I just want to eat candy. Yeah. And so you have to go through every little piece. And of course, you got 1,000 pieces of candy. But I looked it up, the story of why we did that. And it was in 1974. A guy, supposedly this is what they trace it back to, poisoned his son with cyanide. He put cyanide in his pixie stick and killed his 8-year-old son. Jeez. I don't know. I don't really know if they really go into like the backstory of his, like, you know, that type of divorce thing or something like that. Like the guy must have been, obviously was messed up. Yeah. And he had some problems. But like, that's what it all went back to, was that was like a huge thing back in the 70s, and it kind of just went, and obviously people just thought it kept on going. Through history. Even to this day, I mean, I don't really know if it's still a thing.
Yeah, do people still check candy?
I mean, I don't. Should I? I don't.
Because like,
I mean, I look at it and go, okay, candy.
Yeah.
I also try not to go to enemy home because I got little kids, and I'm like, we don't need it. I got still candy from last year. I just take it and give it to my students. It's all gross and old. They're like, "What does this taste like?" Crap. I'm like, "Shut up! It's free candy."
Do you want candy or not?
Yeah.
do you want to ride the dragon of sugar or not, kid? Eat it.
Yeah. I mean, you're sleeping anyway because it's high school. Anyway,
man.
So today we're going to talk about.
I forgot about that.
Something even more spooky than poison candy. I don't know. Actually, it's poison candy sucks for all, but this is kind of sucks for these people that were involved. So where are we going to go today? Where are you going to take us? What are we going to peep into?
So hold on. I just got reminded of something right before we started recording. It's a mystery, kind of. How do you say you're taking off your t-shirt at the end of the night? How do you take it off? Do you go arms crossed, pull it up over your head, or you just go through the collar?
I go down. I pull it down like a skirt. I just feel better that way. All my necks are all like shoulder length now, but I don't know. I don't ever think I even noticed.
So
maybe grab this and pull out that way.
So I just started I think subconsciously I've noticed I've been doing it off.
Crosshand?
Not crosshand. I've been going like through the collar of my shirt. I'm like, man, my shirt collars are like, you know, t-shirts are like stretched out. That's like because I've like a big Charlie Brown head, but like I started like paying attention, and like when we watch stuff on like TV and like movies, I see how people take their shirts off and they always do the crisscross.
Well, that's they do that so accentuate the ass.
Yeah, but then then I was like,
a normal person's like, oh, my Toby belly. I don't want to show that to anybody.
Well, I asked Kelly, my partner, and she's like, no, that's how I do it. I feel like it's how most people do it. So I try to do it.
I think I do the one-hander. Like,
I couldn't do it. I just got stuck in my head. I don't know. Yeah.
Try the skirt method.
Just pull it down all the way down over my shoulders.
What's that called when you sleep with? What's it called? Macho, sleeping macho. I don't know what that's from, but it's like
sleeping macho.
It's whenever you sleep just with a t-shirt and socks on. That's it.
Oh, like Donald Duck.
I guess. I don't know what it's from. Someone told me that recently, or some point in history.
Well,
some point in the history of humankind, someone told me this.
Well, that's my own personal mystery. But today we're going to talk about
mystery of the shirt.
Yes, mystery of the shirt. Today's question I pose to you, Chris, and our two listeners is: how did the trekkers at Dyatlov Pass die?
Trekkers, Dyatlov.
It's Russian.
Dyatlov.
I'm going to be messing up a lot of it deals with Russians and their names and areas. I'm going to be messing this up a lot, but I think it's Dyatlov Pass.
Dyatlov Pass.
How did they die? So, Dyatlov Pass is an incident that took place in 1959 in the Ural Mountains.
Ural Mountains, 19 what?
59, the Soviet Union. Okay, the Ural Mountains kind of go north to south. They provide a natural barrier between Asia and Europe, but mostly goes through Russia, or this time the Soviet Union. So it took place in 1959. 9 current and former students from the university went on a trek, but after failing to check in, were later found to be dead.
So this is 1959.
Yes.
College students?
College students, yes.
From Russia. They were all Russian?
Russia, yes.
Okay.
Also, all Soviet Union students. What makes this a mystery is not the fact that they went and did this, not that they died, but it's how they died and how their bodies were found. Because none of them made it back.
So they're in the
alive.
mountains.
Yeah, they're in the mountains. So the school,
they were camping?
The university is they were studying at is located right outside this mountain range. And they decided to do this trek of cross-country skiing and hiking in this mountain range.
Something I would never do.
No.
I hate cold. Yeah. I don't mind camping. I like camping and hiking and stuff, but you say there's snow involved, right? This is like a snowy area.
Yes.
It's mountain area. I guess Russia's always seems to be cold.
Right. And I'm going to go into a little bit more details of what's going on this time of year there. But so what happens was they went on this trek, these 9 kids, then they're early to mid-20s, except for one other person. I'm going to go into that a little bit later. So kind of an overview is that their tent, they didn't check in when they're supposed to, and their tent was found.
Check in with who?
They were supposed to come back, send a telegram to some of their classmates and friends and family.
So a safety thing.
Yeah. Their tent was found, but it was cut open, not from the outside, but from the inside. They found some of their valuables are still in there, but no bodies were found.
So this is the 50s.
1959. Soviet Union.
Paint me a masterpiece, will you? Paint me a picture of what a tent looked like in the 50s.
So since there was 9 of them, it was how you picture a tent, not like you want to.
Was it nylon, or were they using a different type of material? I
would assume it would have been earlier, not by today's standards.
Yeah, I guess nylon was invented in 1939. It's a weird thing to know.
I wouldn't know that.
It's because
But things were found inside. They were evenly placed there. It seemed organized, but no one was to be found. So that's just to paint a picture of what I'm going to be talking about.
Yes, I see it in my mind. Yes.
So the background of this, it all starts with a student at the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Again, this is near the Ural Mountains in Russia. It's west central Russia.
Okay, west central. So is this Russia? I mean, this is towards Siberia side. This is Siberia on the other side.
West.
Well, more towards Europe.
More towards Europe. Yeah, okay. Yes. Yeah. It's not all the way to the west, the southern border of the Soviet Union, but it's considered west central. So the starts. To give a little background. It starts with Igor Dyatlov. I don't know if you remember saying that name, but there's a reason why we're using that name's used.
So wait, Dyatlov, this is the actual guy?
This is a guy.
Okay.
And then this
pass is named after him?
After him.
Whoa. How convenient.
Yeah. He inherited the pass. He's a 23-year-old student at Ural Polytechnic Institute. This is in a city of Zervatlovsk. Zervatlovsk.
Okay.
Now in modern day,
I tell you, like, the rest of the world seems to have this like very fine-tuned tongue to say a lot of these words, like especially in Russia and French. Like, I don't know if it's like the English language is kind of it's hard for other people to speak English, but like for me,
but our language is bastardized. There's a lot of Latin, like the Romance language.
Is it just a lazy
German? It's just like this weird culmination of like
German's another language I couldn't.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just like when you come to America, the language just got lazy, or not say lazy, but like
it was muddled. Like it's like a melting pot. So all these like languages are
and we're just like,
and like we kind of bastardize certain.
We're not going to listen to the man on how to speak. I'm going to speak how I want to speak. So I'll just say what I want to say.
Just make up your own language.
Exactly. It's American way. Screw it up.
So I'm not going to try and pronounce this, but again, this is Zervatlovsk. It's different name today in modern day Russia. But again, it's the Soviet Union. Again, it's located in west central the Soviet Union during the time near the Ural Mountains. Okay. So it's a mountainous area.
Is this now after the Soviet Union fell? Is this still part of the Soviet Union? Is just part of like one of the other countries?
It's still part of the Soviet Union.
So it was that deep into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In January, Igor, he was an experienced skier and hiker. He did a lot of cross country skiing. He was there's rankings for these people who do this cross country skiing and hiking in the mountains. He was grade 2. The highest at the time you get to during the Soviet Union was grade 3. So he thought by doing this long expedition in the Ural Mountains, he could become grade 3, which is again the highest ranking thing. He decided to, with a couple other fellow university students, in order to get grade 3, we're going to do a 3-week 200-mile trip in the Ural Mountains.
Hell no.
Yeah.
There's no way. Even if it's just breezy out, I'm not going into the mountains because it's too cold.
Yeah.
I put me on a desert island. I'll try to survive all you want. I'll probably die.
Oh yeah.
Survivor Man style, but I'm not doing anything cold.
But it's pretty impressive. These guys are in their early 20s, and they're guys and women who go on the trip. They're in their early 20s. Again, they're from this area, so I guess they know the terrain.
Yeah, I mean, you grew up in that area.
Yeah. But these mountains aren't. They're tall. They get high elevations, but they're not like mountains that you think of. Like
so, they're more like Appalachian Mountains in the United States, where they're.
That's what it seems like.
There's no like tall peaks like the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, they're not doing ice climbing. They're not climbing up these things. It's more like a progressive sloping up and down of cross country skiing and hiking along these things. But again, he just has to do this in January in Russia. And the temperatures are going below 0. So like you still have to be, good at what you're doing.
Oh, of course.
It's still, of course, very dangerous.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. It'd be a 3-week trek with 200 miles.
That's just too long.
Yeah.
And too much. Why would anybody want to do that? I mean, I guess it's in the 50s, 60s,
and I
50s.
think
it's not like they're playing Xbox and stuff.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to sit home and play World of Warcraft, or I'm going to go walk through the mountains.
But yeah,
nowadays we're just like, I'll just play Call of Duty.
Sure. I mean, and the university he's going to, it's considered, it's like popular for engineering. So a lot of these kids that went there got recruited by the government into like nuclear power and all that stuff. So they, for free time, like, what do you want to go do?
Atomic age.
Let's go skiing for 200 miles.
Do math and go skiing. That's what your whole life is about.
So he puts together a team of some friends of his. And the idea is they're going to reach the northern part of the region that they're in. Again, it's called Zervatlovsk Oblast. Oblast.
I've heard that word said before. I cannot for the life of me actually pronounce it. I can hear it in my head, but I don't know how to make the words come out of my mouth.
So they're going to end at a mountaintop called Mount Odorton.
Okay.
It was thought that in this region there's a indigenous group called the Mansi. So they're not really part of the Soviet Union. There's people that have been living there, like the United States. We have Native Americans. They're kind of their own thing. They kind of get left alone. But apparently, Mount Odorton translates to in Mansi as "don't go there."
Okay,
that's what was thought at the time. I think this has been debunked, but
Do you think
that's be a good sign? Be like, hey, let's not go to this place. When
makes a good story.
Don't go there.
Yeah. Do you think they named it so they're like, hey, we're going to call it this so you can stay off our land? Or was it debunked that that's actually not what it
It's debunked that's not actually what it means. I think it's more like...
I'm going to name my road that. So
I think as a result of what happened here was a cautionary thing, like, don't go to this place. It's like doom. It's a bad idea. So him and these other students submitted their proposal to their university and that surrounding areas athletic committee, which quickly, surprisingly, approved of it in a matter of like a couple days. So he submitted this in January.
So this is like a committee in the university?
Yeah, it's like athletic committee at the university.
Okay.
But I think they also needed...
Do they have competitions?
Approval from like that state that they're in, that's something that's good to do.
So is this like a competition type of thing where like this team went out for 200 miles, this team did 250, they win?
No, it was more or less like it's something that no one has ever taken. They decided the route they wanted to take and no one's ever taken it before. Which again is just crazy to me that they're like, we're going to go do this. And,
I mean, you're in early 20s.
Yeah.
Every person in early 20s.
You got some cojones. You think the idea you're going to live forever.
I mean, in your early 20s, you are, I would say in the nicest way possible, when you're in your early 20s, it's like you peak like around 14 and then it's all downhill to like the mid to late 20s. And then you start coming back to normal reality where like,
what's your puberty?
I understand that the world's going to kill me and like, I'm not going to be the richest person in the world and I'm not going to be given like and that might be a thing in modern society, but like we are all, especially, and this is talking from a male, we are all dumb in our early 20s.
There's a saying for that.
Yeah.
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 So Igor had picked 6 men and 2 women to go with him. Some of these people he knew directly, some were just kind of friends of friends, but they all went to the university.
But they all were
either students. Yeah, they all had that grade 2 experience of cross-country skiing and hiking. So either they were students there or they recently graduated, but they all kind of knew each other through like circles.
Is this the guy's like, road trip, everybody, let's road trip right now. He comes in, it's like Saturday morning. You're like, dude, I got class on Monday. He's like, no, road trip, we're going.
Right now, we're doing it.
So it's kind of like that type of thing.
Yes. But I feel like a lot more preparation is needed for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you picked 6 men and 2 women.
I might filled up my car, went on road trip. So I was like, we got some stuff at the gas station. We're fine.
Right. Some Italian dressing in a hoagie, just dump dressing in your mouth and eat the hoagie.
Yeah, I don't want to mess up my car.
So 6 men and 2 women went with them. All students. They're all students or people that recently graduated. But this is where things start getting weird. This is where conspiracy theories start coming in. So they're all in their early 20s, ranged I think from like 21 to 23, 24. So the committee that is letting them do this and like saying, okay, go do this, they decide to allow one other person come. Okay, he's a man. He's in his he's like 37, 38.
Is this like the field trip type of thing where this is the guy like?
Well, so that's what I was like. Maybe he's like the chaperone.
Okay.
Okay. So he has experience as well. I think he's a athletic teacher at the university, but none of these kids know him. He was also a former,
which those kids today will call this a creeper.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
So he's a sport instructor at the university. He's a World War II veteran. Again, this is kind of his background. This goes a little bit into like the mystery of why this guy's here. As far as conspiracy theories of what happened.
World War II veteran at this time. I mean, this is like the Russians too.
The
guys that like
he's like tatted up.
Yeah, these are the guys like the crazy guys that went in face to face.
Yeah. They're the ones that basically won World War II. But again, no one knows who this guy is. But they go along with it because he's experienced. He does have some affiliation with the university. It's like they're like, okay, whatever, we'll go with this. So there's 10 people altogether. It's Igor, his friends, or some of his acquaintances, and this older gentleman.
What's the older gentleman's name?
The older gentleman's name was, thank you, Semyon.
Okay. Semyon?
Semyon, Semyon. I think I saw that with a Z as well.
Okay.
Okay, so the government and the university approved this. The 10 of them set out on January 23rd. So during this time, as they leave, they have journals. They each have their own journal. There's a communal journal. They have cameras. So they're taking pictures. They're journaling everything they're doing. So we know what's going on prior to them disappearing later on. Okay? Nothing seems out of the ordinary. There's a few instances where they have to they rather than buying a train ticket, they decide to hide under like one of the they hop on
like
the
train hopping.
Yeah, the train hopping.
Okay.
Yeah. We know that over the course of several days, they take a series of trains. They take a truck ride north to their actual starting point. There, they stocked up on food in this last inhabited area called Vizai. So this is the last place they come to. There's people.
What's it called?
Vizai.
Okay.
Vizhai.
Okay.
So this is the last time they go to. This is the last place they can get food. They can restock supplies. That's the time they get an actual meal before they go completely on their own. Out like where there's no like civilization around. Again, this is get to this mountain point. The plan was, so again, this is January 26th, I believe, 27th?
1959 still.
1959, okay. Yeah. The plan was to come back to this town and then send a telegram to like their friends and family saying, hey, we're okay. It's a matter of like a couple 3 weeks possibly.
Okay, so the telegram was to their family.
Yeah, and people at the university, like, hey, we did our trek, we made it.
Okay, and then
we're alive. We're
going
okay.
back home.
Because this is like the last place there's any kind of civilization. Last place to get food and restock.
They left from there, come back to there, and they were going to go back
home.
Go
back home, yeah.
Okay.
Through a series of trains and car rides and stuff like that. So by February 12th, they're like, hey, if you haven't heard from us, something might be wrong. So this is January 27th, January 28th. One of the trekkers that was part of this, Yuri Yudin, there's a couple of Yuris, but his name's Yuri Yudin. He had to pull out due to health issues. He had rheumatism?
Like rheumatoid arthritis type of thing?
He had he had issues with the bad joint. He had like a kind of a heart problem. So he's like, my joints are killing me. I don't think I'm going to make it. So he pulls out. Luckily for him, this.
So how many do we have now? We're down to 9?
Down to 9.
Okay.
So this saved this guy's life. The fact that he had this arthritis. So the 28th, the other trekkers, they're like people that part of the expedition, like, we're going to keep going.
Or he could have been the one that saved the day. It's kind of like what's that spaceship that went? Apollo 13. The space aliens up there. That one guy he got sick or something, faked it.
Right.
He could have saved the day. We don't know.
So they take off on the 28th. Again, these mountains aren't necessarily steep. They're not like climbing and stuff like that. They're just cross skiing. But it is January. We're going into February. You're in the mountains in Russia.
I mean, you have to be.
It's cold. I mean,
so
like temperatures are going down to like 20 degrees below Celsius.
Sweating and being freezing.
Yes.
That would be hell. My personal hell. Other people might like it.
So they leave this place on the 28th. This is probably like the last time. So some people would say that these people have been seen alive. Journals were found later by the people on this trek, the expedition, that on January 31st, they had to stop to set up camp due to bad weather conditions.
Okay. January what?
31st.
Okay, they set up camp.
Yeah, this is found in a journal. Meanwhile, the whole time they're very positive about everything. They're sad Yuri left, but
this is all from their journals.
All from journals. And they eventually did find cameras. Were able to what's it called when you develop them? Thank you. Develop them. So it seemed like everything was fine. Like nothing was out of the ordinary.
So the photographs, except for that, like that one guy, Simeon, in the background, like looking at him like real weird, like behind trees and stuff. There's this one guy in there.
There is something that comes up later on when we start going into theories about what happened to these people. But yeah, several of them had cameras, and only some of them were able to get developed. But again, nothing seemed out of the ordinary until January 31st, when the last journal entries was like, we have to stop for the night because we can't keep going because the weather was bad. Visibility was poor, wind was bad. It was snowing really heavily. So January 31st, that happens. They have to stop. February 12th comes and no one hears anything.
February 12th.
Yes. So that was the date.
Wait, is January 31st, February 12th?
Yeah. So February 12th is supposed to be the date at the latest that they would send a telegram back to their friends or family or people at the university saying, hey, we made it back.
On the 31st, there was a log entry about setting up camp.
Yep.
And then nothing until February 12th.
Pretty sure nothing. They weren't heard from. Like
that was the last entry, but
that entry was found, but like they didn't no one heard anything. They weren't back at the town they're supposed to be in to send word that they were fine. So genuinely, their family members, friends, the university starts to panic. They start demanding that a search party be sent out, but not until February 20th the search party gets sent out, because they'd heard that there was some bad weather going on, so maybe like oh, maybe they got postponed, they didn't make it in time, so they waited a little bit until the February 20th.
Because this would be 3 weeks.
Yes.
So at this point, the 12th was the 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So people would think if they said 3 weeks, it could have been, that was like what they expected.
That's what they expected, yeah.
So it could have.
I think everyone.
So they were expecting it to take longer.
Yeah, I think everyone assumed, like, it being the middle of winter, that it's possible that it get delayed due to bad weather, because they're on their feet, they're going on skis, they're not taking snowmobiles or like cars or anything like that. So like
this is.
So February 20th comes in, and then their family's like, all right, what's going on? This needs to be like, we need to find
8 days.
Yeah, we need to find our family members and our loved ones. So the university, along with local authorities, and eventually the Russian government sent out search parties.
So 59. I mean, there's telephones at this point.
Yes,
So,
I mean,
there's telephones they can call people. It's not like they're writing letters.
I think the reason why they said we'll send a telegram is because the last place they stopped, like the last civilized town they were in, probably didn't have telephones because you were getting into the mountains. But they did probably have telegrams. So that's where they're like, we'll send you a telegram or get back to this town.
A telegram being through the telegraph.
Yeah.
Okay.
But telephones were a thing there, but probably not in this.
Right. So I was wondering, like, it seems like just give them a call.
Yeah, because they in order to even get to that last town, Vizai, I think it's called, they had to like take trains, and like it took a couple days. That alone was like a lot of mileage. And
this is a far off town.
Yeah, they're going. Yeah, they're going past places that are probably without that kind of technology. Right. I'm assuming. 59
still not.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still places now that don't have.
Yeah.
Things like that.
So February 20th, the school sends out volunteers, most of who are students, which is kind of crazy. But then also local authorities get involved.
I mean, young kids, they can throw those away.
But it wasn't until February 26th that on a mountain pass near Mount Kholat Syakhl.
Oh my God, that's a whole thing. Do that again. Do it one more time.
Kholat Syakhl is on February 26th.
How many letters is in that word?
It's 2 different words.
Okay.
But I know I'm
of course. Yes. That's like the common theme through all these episodes. Yeah. We butcher every word.
So we should do an episode of us butchering people's names.
Yeah, send in your names. Where you're from.
Of like things we've already done and talked about, like the Mughal Empire and all that stuff.
Put them all together.
Yeah.
Cut them together.
Cut it all together like a blooper.
Here's us being jackasses.
So Kholat Syakhl.
We're sorry the world. We're bad at speaking.
Which in Mansi, again, Mansi is this indigenous tribe. This means dead mountain.
This is, wait.
So February 26th.
Yes. This is the pass that they.
Yeah, on a mountain pass near a mountain called Kholat Syakhl. In Mansi, which is the indigenous tribe in that area, that mountain in their language means dead mountain.
And that's true, or is that?
That is true. Apparently that is true, yeah. Something's found on this pass. Okay. And this is only about 10 miles from their destination where they wanted to go in the end, which was Mount.
Okay, so this is
Fullerton.
This is supposed to be 10 miles to where they're going to end and turn around.
End and turn around, yeah.
Okay.
So they were close.
I mean, 10 miles, still 10 miles.
I mean, out of 200 miles, though.
Yeah, you're right.
One of the university's volunteers, Mikhail Sharavin.
So they made 90 miles, basically?
More than that, yeah.
Because it's 200 miles round trip, right?
Oh, right, yeah. So, yeah.
About.
Yeah.
I mean, so they made it like
I didn't think about the
10
round
miles,
trip,
so then they were 100 miles back.
They were close.
90 miles, though.
And that's impressive.
I would have made it 10 miles and been like...
2.
They'd have been dragging my body.
Yeah, once I got off the last truck in the last town, I'm like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just saying here. All right, so one of the volunteers, Mikhail Sharavin, finds a tattered tent protruding from the snow. In an interview with BBC with a news journalist named Lucy Ash in 2019, this article I found is like amazing. They interview like some of these people that were around during this time, mostly because of this guy, because he's one of the first people that found something. So he finds a tent protruding from the snow. It's kind of caved in, covered by snow.
I mean, this is how many days later? I mean, this could have been.
This is February 26th.
And this is the third. 31st was their last entry. So that would have been 26 days.
Yeah.
Where it's just snow's piling up.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised they even found that at all in a place like this, I'd imagine.
In this interview, he says he found the tent. Him and this other rescuer that were with him looked inside and said if things appeared orderly. They saw some boots stacked up, which is kind of odd. They saw some food that looked like it was recently been cut up, like they were getting ready to have dinner. There was a lamp there, like a heated lamp or like a heating thing for them to use. But nothing seemed out of ordinary other than the fact that there were no one around. Like, where were these people at? They found the route map in there, official papers, money, and a flask of alcohol. So this is where it kind of gets interesting because he noticed there's a cut made in the tent, but not from the outside, but from the inside.
How do you know that? Did they say?
They don't. I mean, they don't. I think
based on the material.
I probably couldn't identify that, right. But like maybe I don't know. Maybe knows.
I just wonder how they would even say like. This is how we know it's from the outside.
Sure, yeah.
And maybe because the puncture mark was going out.
Oh, yeah. I'd imagine the way like the threading might have been coming off, like based on
and
that.
It's probably frozen too. Yeah. So
based on that, maybe.
Plus, we don't know what material it is.
Sure. And they said just this again. This is Mikhail recounting what he saw. So then, just outside the tent, he saw frozen footprints made by 8 to 9 people who were either wearing socks, a single boot, or nothing at all.
Okay. That seems going out. Okay. They're wearing socks or nothing at all.
Yeah.
So their boots are there.
The boots are, he saw some boots in the tent neatly piled all together.
God.
Which is, I don't know.
That's not good.
No, which is very odd. And the tracks continued at 5 to 10 meters and then they disappeared.
Just thinking this in my head like makes me cold and scared about just like anxious about something
claustrophobic like this. And just like getting caved in on and like being alone and I don't know.
Snowy.
Feeling death.
Yeah.
So they realized in time, like again, I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit, but they realized in time what they did was they were off their mark of trying to like I said, they're 10 miles out from this mountaintop they're trying to get to because of the snow and how windy and it was dark out and how snowy it got. They had to kind of settle out further than they wanted to next to this mountaintop. Oh my gosh, the thing I keep butchering, Kolot. So what they end up doing is there's a slight slope. Again, these aren't like mountains like this. There's just like a slow grade. So they decided to do was, and apparently this is what you do in these kind of situations. You dig down, you build your tent into the back of the slope in order to prevent wind from hitting you. So this is what they did. Okay. They saw that the cut came out, obviously the other side, because the other side of the tent was behind a wall of snow. So the tracks continued for 5-10 meters and then they just disappeared. And it's nighttime. So they decide to take this alcohol and cheers. They're like, there's no way these people are alive. Here's to the deceased. And then the next day, during like February 27th, it's daytime. They were able to follow more of the footprints. And near the edge of a nearby woods, they found 2 bodies who ended up belonging to 2 of the people on this expedition.
2 of 9.
Yep. Again, I'm going to butcher these names. Georgi, I'm not going to try his last name. All right, Georgi Kravashenchenko. And another Eerie. This is a Eerie that stayed during Doroshenko. Okay. Both were near a dead campfire. Again, this is on.
So there's a campfire there
along a tree line.
Okay.
The campfire had already died, and the 2 men were only wearing their underwear.
Okay. I mean, out in the freezing cold. So it gets you're like, oh, they're not wearing their boots. Yeah. But they're also not wearing any of their clothes.
Socks.
And that just seems like hell.
Yeah. So either they set this campfire or someone set it up for them. Okay. They noticed on a tree some branches had been broken off. They were probably what they used to light this fire.
And they don't know if the fire was from when they originally were camping, or they don't know if they made it before they went to bed or after.
It was. They're assuming after because it was so far, like not super far away, but it was like far enough away to like, why would they
make it all the way over here, then go all the way back to the tent?
So later that day, 3 more of the missing group's bodies were some are sprawled out in between the camp, the original camp where that tent was, and the tree line where they found those 2 other.
So these are another 3 between
another 3
this.
people. Yep, they were kind of like sporadically between these where the camp was, and so 2 first bodies were
5
found.
down.
Yeah, one was Igor, the guy who this is aptly named after.
Dyatlov.
Yeah, thank you. You say better than I do. As well as Rustem, Slobodin, and Zenaida Komogorova. So some of these people had clothes on.
Thank God.
They were in their underwear.
Well, that's just not party.
Body positioning suggested that they were trying to make it back to camp.
Okay.
The way they were facing, the way like they were kind of like their bodies had like
making it back to the original camp.
Original camp, yeah.
But
Away from the
fire.
The fire, yeah.
Okay. So did they follow those 2 that weren't wearing clothes out there and try to get them back, and then they died on their way back?
There's a theory that we'll get to on that.
I want to jump ahead here.
Rustem Slobodin had a small crack in his skull.
Well, you don't want that.
No.
That's not good.
It was later seen as not a fatal wound, so they don't know what it came from.
Do they know if it was from this trip? Or if it was something like
I think
when he was growing up?
I think that's the thing. Like, who knows, like, if it's like something that happened to him, like you said, when he's younger, or something that happened during this.
I'd imagine it wouldn't be when he's younger. I know your bones grow like...
They fuse and stuff like that.
Like a little kid, when they break their like collarbone, which is a very common thing for little kids to do. Apparently, like that stuff just erases the old one and grows a new one. Yeah. I've seen it happen. But I've seen it like go from like completely displaced to like a couple months later being like a totally new bone. And the old one that was displaced is gone. Like it erased it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. Apparently this, though, there was no actual scar. It was just like you could tell like there was a flint. So
it's a new wound.
Yeah.
So the skin was also broken in the skull.
I don't think the skin was broken.
Frozen?
I don't think the skin was broken.
Oh. Like a blunt force type of thing.
Yeah. So
put some ice on that.
Get this. Almost 3 months later, on May 4th, the final 4 members were found.
Wait, May 4th?
May 4th. Almost 3 months later from when the
Did these guys hang out the entire time, or they left? The guys that found the original 5.
The people that found the original 5, one of them, I believe, stuck around.
Okay. And so the other ones...
But I also think at this point, though, like actually, I don't think they did. I think the students were like done at this point. Like at this point, the military were like, we're going in.
Okay.
The police.
So this is like a murder scene. It's like kind of like this is an issue now.
Yeah.
A crime scene.
Right. So May 4th, almost 3 months later, the final 4 members were found in a ravine 250 feet away from the initial tree where the first 2 were found. So 252 feet away from where Gregory and Yuri were found. Yeah.
Further from.
And so the idea is that since it's May, the snow had been melting, they could finally find these other bodies. And they were kind of laying in like this ravine. There's water. Some were actually laying in the water.
Which could have been frozen.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, right. So
it's not like they could have drowned, maybe, because it would have been frozen, I would imagine.
There was a river, but that became a stream that became like a ravine. So who knows how deep this would have been. So these 4, Nikolai, Thibaut Bignoles, which doesn't sound completely Russian, so there might be a French maybe parent. He had a fractured skull. And this is where it gets like kind of gruesome. Like the other one's just like, oh, maybe they died of hypothermia, which they ended up saying.
Froze to death.
They died from hypothermia. But this is like when they find these bodies, like there's some gruesome stuff going there. So this guy had a fractured skull.
Wait, did we find Simeon yet? Simeon?
So Nikolai had a fractured skull. Alexander Kolovatov's neck was twisted. He had
twisted?
Scar behind his ear.
Wait. His neck was twisted.
I don't think it was like
all the way around.
But I think it was just like clearly it had been like jostled and like
Looney Tunes sort of like he spins around his body and spins around. Yeah.
So it's clearly like some kind of blunt force trauma happened to him. The 2 other Lyadmi Lyudmila Dubanina and Semyon.
Was that a...
Lyudmila was the second woman.
Okay.
Semyon's the older guy that the creep was kind of hanging out with him. They both had chest fractures, broken ribs. Both were missing both eyes.
Okay.
And Lyudmila's tongue was missing. It was gone.
And Semyon had it in his mouth.
He got hungry, man. They were found wearing the clothes of what is believed to be their dead companions.
This sucks. So they were wearing different clothes? Were they
different clothes.
The other guy...
So
two guys running around underwear.
Yes.
These four. Were they wearing real clothes? Like, were they wearing clothes?
They're wearing clothes. It's believed that they took the clothes off of the other people who might have died before them.
I gotcha.
Interesting though, Semyon was found with his camera on him, around his neck. So if they're fleeing this tent, as the people are saying, since the knife cut through the tent on the inside, they're fleeing something. Why would he have his camera with him?
Was he taking pictures of something he wasn't supposed to take a picture of? Got caught?
Again, this is February 1st through February 2nd is what they believe that these people died. January 31st is when they had to dig in to that slope. So they're thinking February 1st, the night of, and February 2nd is when they died, in the middle of the night. So why, like, I think it's interesting. Why would he have his camera around him if they're like getting ready to go to bed? Or why would he take it with him? To run away from whatever's like frightened them, to make them want to leave the tent.
He's like one of those YouTube influencers or like Instagram influencers.
Yo,
like
the
first guy. Semyon up here.
Semyon. Also, it should be noted that low levels of radiation were found on some of the clothes.
How would so wait, we're talking about not like the common like background radiation. This is like obviously a Geiger counter type of like they had a Geiger counter and it was like, it actually
not
tweaks it.
Yeah, not life threatening or anything like that, but like these clothes had been around
some type of radioactive material.
Yes.
Okay. Cold War,
baby. So yeah, Cold War alone.
What a time to be alive.
Like the possibilities of what happened to these people could be numerous. Okay, so
what if Semyon's camera shot out radioactive like pictures? Like it was like laser. It was like a special thing they were testing for the military. He took a picture and it like,
I mean, who knows?
Radioactive murder, like hulked them.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's like he had one of these, but like I wouldn't be surprised if that was something.
Yeah, it's Polytechnic Institute. He's testing something out.
Yeah, so these are all like so that's the thing. It's a like thank you for bringing that up.
Camera.
Like these people are like they're studying to be part of the overall
military
government machine.
Okay,
something with science, technology. Igor was a radio engineer. He would make his own contraptions and then go test them out in the wild.
When you say radio, you don't mean radioactive. You mean radio as in like terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are I'm assuming
communication radio.
Clever, scientifically smart people. So immediately after the first 5 bodies were found, not the 4 that were found months later. So this is Igor. In order they're found, Georgi, Yuri, Igor, Rustem, and Zeneda, those first 5, it was concluded that they died from hypothermia, which is understandable because they were left outside. Some of them were almost naked, didn't have the appropriate equipment.
Were they radioactive?
They were not.
Okay.
I don't believe. They assume this or theorize this because the fact that they're outside in shelter, ill-equipped and below 0 temperatures, which makes total sense, right? Like that's sure. It is believed this may have come about due to an avalanche causing them to quickly flee their tent. So maybe avalanche happened, they couldn't get out, so they cut their way out.
Was there any sign of an avalanche?
No.
Were they on they were on a mountain, but they weren't like on like a rocky mountain,
it wasn't
peak
where
it was
a peak.
The snow would actually fall down.
So I remember like reading, and this is why a lot of people don't think it could have been an avalanche. Because it's not steep enough. In order for avalanche to happen, the slope needs to be 30 degrees or more. Where they were was less than 30 degrees.
And also,
not enough for
their
avalanche.
Tent is still there. It's not like it's destroyed, like being
Yes.
knocked over by a.
So that's people were like, say they were like, avalanche happened. They had to escape, and they died from hypothermia. Clearly, 2 of them might have tried to stay alive, like keep them warm by a fire. But why didn't they have clothes on?
It's not like you're sleeping like that. Like some people sleep a certain way, like I mentioned earlier. But like,
yeah, but you're in the, like
you're not going to be sleeping like that. You're going to be wearing a lot of clothes.
Yes, in the mountains.
To sleep in the mountains
In January, February, in the mountains in Russia, yeah.
I mean, like I said, maybe some Russian badasses.
I mean,
like
they had a heater.
Russian people or...
Yeah. They had a heater in there. A lot of people were saying they might have got carbon monoxide poisoning and made them go like loopy, but like that was debunked.
So they radioactive. That is that the end of the story?
No.
Okay.
So this is immediately after the 5. Like this is before they found the 4 other people. So after the first 5 that were found, they're like, oh, they died from hypothermia, from avalanche. They had escaped their tent, and died out the wilderness, unfortunately. Because they couldn't escape in time to grab whatever they needed to grab with them.
And that sounds like it's someone who made up a story to satisfy parents of why their kids died or families.
Which a lot of people think, yeah.
And just because they don't really know, based on like what they saw, they probably don't even know. They're saying this is probably what happened, just to satisfy everybody.
Yeah. And then like throughout for the next several like decades, there was like the Russian or Soviet government and the Russian government were very like secretive about certain things. They weren't releasing a lot of this information. That might have been because that's a Cold War thing. They don't really want, their names know what's going on, but like their own people, own Russian citizens, Soviet Union citizens were wondering like, there has to be answers for this. And this came to be once the remaining 4 were found, because they were found like pretty gruesome, like gruesome deaths. So then people start coming up with theories like this avalanche thing couldn't have been the case, since some of these people are missing their eyeballs, they're missing their tongue, someone's eyebrows were missing. So one of the first things...
It's too cold, man.
Yeah.
You're just too cold. You don't do these things in the cold.
So one of the first things that was hypothesized was that it was the Mansi people that attacked them. Maybe they were encroaching on their land. They shouldn't have been where they're supposed to be. So the Mansi were upset, attacked them, and killed them. Quickly, this was dismissed because they interrogated some of these people. It didn't look like a physical altercation happened at any point, other than cutting yourself out of a tent. But like it didn't look like a hand-to-hand combat was taking place. And plus, again, there was the tracks of just like 8 to 9 people that they saw. So there would have been other tracks if they were attacked by somebody. So what are you thinking right now as far as what happened to these people?
It's just too damn cold. I mean, they're just like, it's too cold, I'm down, I'm out. No, I really don't. Like, you're bringing up all these like different things that could have been, like you say stuff about reactivity in the Soviet government, could have been some type of military thing, some type of something in that realm. Could have been, I mean, sounds like pretty good support for the Mansi people. Mansi people. That miscommunication, misunderstanding in the night. Maybe it was, or Semyon. Like, it seems like these guys, the ones that weren't found by the stream, the other 4, the other 5 were not like they weren't. They died of hypothermia. They weren't brutally murdered, type of thing.
Right.
But then you have these other 4, then it seems like stuff went down
Very
where they
weird.
were.
Yeah,
but,
circumstances.
And also this one guy's with them. Mm-hmm. In a girl or woman. So is it some type of jealousy thing, or that just kind of got out of hand?
Yeah.
Or is it animals? Right. So like maybe they all died out of hypothermia, but like the animals came along and a bear came along. I guess it's the winter, so there are probably not very many bears out.
But there's some kind of animals scavenging
Wolves.
Around there. Yeah. Yeah. There were apparently some relationships that were had. Like some of these people used to date each other, as documented in some of the journals. But it was concluded, though, again, it's 1959, after they had like a forensic kind of thing, that the missing eyes and the tongue were all post-mortem.
Okay.
So again, wild animal out there probably pecking away at their eyes, or like a bird pecking away at their eyes, or something ate their tongue. So the initial official conclusion in 1959, they all died from a compelling natural force. That's it, a compelling natural force.
Natural force.
Whatever that means.
So it's just like a bunch of words they say to keep people shut up.
Like, this is what we got.
A compelling natural force.
Yes.
Would cold be considered a compelling natural force?
Yeah, but then how would you get like a broken rib,
right?
Fractured skull?
Okay.
Because like I don't know when that was said, but at one point it was said that as if they were in like a severe car accident.
The guys that were found by the beach or by the river,
cracked
Lake
ribs
Green?
and like the caving-in chest.
But could they have been? They're on a mountain or a mountain junior type of thing. Like,
no, they're in the mountains. Yeah.
And these guys are found 250 feet.
The people that were in the ravine were found 250 feet.
And they're down in a ravine.
Yeah.
So did the fractures and stuff happen because they fell down the ravine?
Maybe
it was not foul play at all, and it was like people. But then what were they running from? Why were they down there?
Yeah, and why the need to cut yourself out of a tent, and like why were they all spread out like that?
Why did they have time to make a fire?
Naked?
Why did they have some of them have time to make a fire?
Right.
And if they're wearing their underwear, how did they make that fire?
Because there was no clothes burning in there. So one of the people that took the clothes. Okay, so it's theorized that the two guys that were found dead by the fire, their clothes were gone. The other three that were found like in between like the camp and the tree line.
Yes.
The ones that were gone looking back, or was it the other four that were found? Sorry, the last four that were found, it looked like they were wearing the clothes of the people that died by the fire because they were naked. They're not naked, they're in their underwear because some of them had like burn marks on them.
Okay.
And someone like one was one of the females was wearing the pants of one of the males.
And that was the three that were found between the fire and the tent?
No, sorry, the
ones in the
ravine. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so they're wearing the guy. Okay, so one
of them was wearing the clothes all of them were wearing the clothes.
And the guys by the fire,
pieces of the clothes.
Okay.
By the guys that
and the guys by the fire weren't.
They were in their underwear,
but they weren't found to be dead by. They didn't have any fractures or anything they could see. Okay.
No.
So like they murdered them, took their clothes, and jumped on a ravine.
So one of the theories, though, again, this is much later on, is done by Eerie, the one that left because he had the joint pain. He believes the Soviet government had something to do with the deaths.
Oh, okay. So this is the guy that stuck behind. Back.
He went back because he was having joint pains. He kept his journals and he continued writing his journals after this because he's planning on writing a book, apparently.
Was there any military facilities around here that they found? Or is that as known?
So he believes, okay, so yes. Well, there's speculation on that.
Soviet Union. I mean, there's lots of stuff that's true and not true.
Yeah. So shortly following the deaths of his friends, the government came to talk to him to identify some of the things that they found in the camp, like the initial site, saying, do you recognize this? He recognized some things he's like, they wouldn't have had that, like certain skis. But one thing in particular that really stuck out to him was a piece of cloth from a Soviet soldier's uniform.
And that was found in a tent? Or on the people?
Around like the campsite. Not on the people, but like around the campsite.
Were
like
any of them soldiers at any time? Except for the guy that was in World War II. But this is probably a modern?
Yeah.
Okay. Modern piece of clothing.
So he's that along some other things he found there is like these aren't things they would have had with them. Again, he separated them. I think he separated with them at the last town. So he's probably saw what the last things they bought, saw what they had on them.
Yeah.
He gave them his rations when he turned back so they can have extra stuff. So he believes something happened. He never publicly said because I think he had to sign like an NDA thing saying you can't tell us, what you saw. Because again, it's Soviet Union, so I'm sure there's a lot of secrecy and stuff going around. Because which
is weird.
Yeah,
which is weird. They make, I guess, it's a crime scene type of thing.
Yeah, but like maybe the Soviet government didn't know what was at play here. Like
maybe they didn't want to sue the school for like that type of thing. Like we don't know what happened. You got to sign this thing saying you're not going to go around and tell people what happened. Like start rumors.
Yeah. And then lastly, he says that he died. So he never said this publicly. He died, I think, only a few years ago. But he says, these friends of mine, like they're all experienced. They would know how to exactly deal with an avalanche. So how do they die the way they did? Like he's just like, this isn't, something about he's like, just doesn't add up to me. So he thinks Soviet government had something to do with it. Not sure. He didn't really ever say, as far as what I saw, like what he thought they did exactly. But he thinks that they were there before, at the site, before like the rescue people
Soviets
came.
there before the guys discovered the camp.
Before like the students found the camp. Why that is, he didn't never said, but he thinks something fishy was going on in the Soviet government.
Okay. So they okay, continue. This is like
there's a lot.
There's a lot here.
There were reports of orange flashing lights going on in the region.
Orange flashing lights by who? Like people living in the region?
In this area, yeah, like 30 miles away.
Was that mentioned in any of the journals?
I don't know. I can't remember if it was one of the journals, but apparently one of the pictures, someone took a picture that was found of that. I think they might have mentioned in journals. Some that saw this might have thought it was a bad omen, not necessarily had anything to do with the people doing the trek. Others believe that it would have been aliens. But they would. So
these are all common theories
of what these orange flashes were. So maybe aliens had something to do with their disappearance and their death. Others, though, seems like a pretty popular one based on what not necessarily what you're saying, but based on around that realm of the government being about something. Believe that there was a secret Soviet weapons testing ground, possibly nuclear, that they might have stumbled upon when they got lost. Because again, they had to stop in the middle of the night because the wind got really bad, the snow got really bad, visibility dropped. They lost. They ventured off the route they had planned. So they might have stumbled upon a testing facility of some kind by the Soviet Union.
But it wasn't there when the other guys showed up.
Yeah.
So these guys show up and find this place. They find the bodies and are there for a while.
Yeah.
And they don't find any nuclear, or they don't find any testing facility.
The idea is that they killed them and then dropped them back off, made it look like,
that they were there. Okay.
Something happened.
So they find the bodies.
Yeah. Not like this facility just disappeared or anything like that.
Because I mean, if they found tracks going out from the camp and everything, did they find the tracks of them getting to the camp?
I can't remember. Because even still,
I guess it could have been,
because these people had to be, the people that found them had to be helicoptered in, and even getting on a snowmobile, getting there, it's like people are trying to reenact what some of the things might have happened, like as far as avalanches, like snowmobiles were turning over. Apparently all these weird occurrences happened of other 9 people died at some point, or in a plane crash, but they survived somehow in this general area around this dead mountain where the dead mountain that they came across.
So there's
a superstition of bad things happening around this area.
Okay.
So after this.
So this isn't people looking for the other.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
This is just a separate.
People trying to reenact and see what happened. But as far as them stumbling upon this testing ground, maybe they saw something they're supposed to do, so the Soviet soldiers killed them, moved their bodies elsewhere, or
saw something they weren't supposed to.
Yeah. Or if this was a missile testing site, maybe a missile struck them. Like
a missile range.
Yeah. Maybe something they were struck by a missile. Maybe that's why people saw orange lights.
Just blew their clothes off.
Yeah.
It's one of the newest missiles that Soviet Union invented.
Right off.
Just so blows your clothes off.
You don't want to make embarrass you too much. You keep your underwear on, But yeah,
that would be an awesome missile.
But people are like, oh, that explains.
That's maybe like a party missile. That's what that is. If the Soviets invented that, the Cold War would have ended a lot differently.
It shoots vodka in your veins and just blows your clothes off.
I would have been totally down with that.
Yeah. Maybe that, people were saying, maybe not necessarily the missile hit them directly, but it caused an explosion, but threw their bodies over, I don't know. But people saw these orange. Yeah, people saw these orange
party
lights.
Missiles coming.
People saw these orange lights and they thought, they're trying to make speculation.
It comes down when it drops out of the plane. It just, instead of doing a it's like technically. Oh no! Party missile.
Yeah.
We need to invent that. We need to buy a missile.
Right.
Figure out how to make it blow people's clothes off.
So yeah, that could possibly explain, damage to their bodies. But again, like you said, why would they not have clothes on if they were?
Yeah. Why would it not incinerate them?
Right. But then maybe the Soviets are like, oh, this missile hit where it wasn't supposed to.
But radioactivity was on the one bodies, right?
Right. So maybe this missile wasn't supposed to, but like, let's move their bodies around, make it look like someone else happened. I know it's like, it's far fetched, but these are some like the
theories.
Some theories. Yeah. There's some weirder ones that I'm not going to go over all of them, but, going back to cameras being found, there was a photo found on, one of the trekkers' cameras. So Semyon's camera was stuck in water. Like he's laying face down the ravine. So a lot of the stuff that they were able to develop was either too blurry or anything like that. You couldn't really see much from it. But one of them, I believe it was Nikolai's camera, had a picture was developed on it, and it had a blurry black silhouette of an image of something like a bipedal.
Like a person?
Like a person.
So like one of them?
Because apparently a documentary was done about this, a Yeti. The abominable snowman.
Who blows your clothes off. Just rips your clothes off and then leaves you alone.
Yeah. Picks your eyes out, eats your tongue, takes your clothes off, rips your clothes off, and just like, goes about his way. I don't know.
He punches you hard, just so hard your clothes fly off.
But like, they're like, people have looked at this hard evidence as like the Yeti exists and it's in the Ural Mountains and
But this is just a silhouette like type of thing.
Yeah, and I remember I found. We'll put some of these up. I found a website, and they posted some of the pictures that were taken by everybody. Again, everyone seemed happy, and then all of a sudden, like they're dead. And shows pictures of like what their bodies look like. They're taken by people that found them, but. I think the one they're talking about clearly was a man just who's part of their group. They're just like messing around because they even found in the tent fake newspaper clippings that they apparently wrote about the abominable snowman being found. So like it was kind of a jokingly kind of thing that people are saying that like the guy might have like they took a picture of this guy joking around like he's an abominable snowman.
This is about the okay. So I'm gonna just. Switch something. I just want to say this one thing. This is something probably the dumbest thing I'll ever say. And it just...
We're still young, man.
Yeah. I've been sitting here waiting to hear about when they start eating each other. And so that's not this story.
No.
That's the other people.
Do you remember, was it Donner? And then there's the movie... this made me think of the movie Alive. Did you ever see the movie Alive where those like rugby players, they crash in like the Alps and have to eat each other?
I've read Hatchet. Is that is that the same thing?
No.
So Donner Party isn't the Dyatlov people.
What's that?
The Donner Party wasn't these Russian people.
No.
I was sitting there waiting, like, when are they going to start eating each other? So that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life up to this point.
No, but like, I mean, it makes you think of that because like,
yeah.
I didn't know like from the time they got stranded till the time they died, like it's only a matter of like maybe 48 hours. But like the Donner Party, I didn't know that when I first stumbled upon it. I was like, oh, they're definitely gonna eat each other. Someone else is eating someone else's butt cheek like they did,
I thought maybe the Donner Party was actually in Russia, and I just didn't know.
It's in the United States.
Yeah, it's like the Berenstain Bears went to Russia, or went to like the worst Berenstain Bears book ever. The Donner Party of Russia.
They go to Russia.
That would be a good movie.
No, I mean that you're
the
not.
The Donner Party 2.
Electric Boogaloo. The Yeti.
Dyatlov Pass 2.
The Yeti comes out and just throws a party. But it's not crazy.
Party missile.
I thought for sure at some point someone was going to eat somebody.
Yeah.
But I guess it didn't happen.
But I strictly was thinking that because I thought it was the other group.
Okay. Gotcha.
I didn't think, not because I figured like, it's one of those stories where they just eat each other and it's cold. Yeah, whatever. But like, I literally thought this was the Donner Party until... Yeah. It just clicked in my head. These aren't the same people. But go ahead. Sorry. Continue. Theories.
So that's the Yeti one. That's silly. But a lot of people like basis like, oh, there's a proof the Yeti exists, but I don't know. If the picture I saw is the right one, it's clearly a guy in his cold gear.
His bloomers.
Just being goofy.
Okay. So it was just one of the people.
One of the people that's part of the group. That's what I think. But I want to circle back as to why Semyon was selected to go, because he wasn't picked by Igor and his friends. He
was assigned to them.
He's assigned to them.
Was he like in charge of making sure they did that they said so they get level 3?
I didn't see anything like that, so I don't know. But
they're not just gonna be like, "Oh, you guys made it, really?"
Yeah.
Or did you just go sit behind that tree for 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, you do need some kind of.
Was he part of like the governing body that says you're level 3 now?
He from my side, he's just an athletic teacher at the university. So it's possible that he's like chaperone, look over them, and maybe.
Yeah, I guess if a university sending a bunch of people out, like they're not going to. I mean, this is in our world, today's world.
Yeah.
Like they're not just going to like just let them go.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, like that's not how things go.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. If it's something that's like has some kind of certification involved, like that type of thing, should be someone be there to. Like, so maybe he was.
But
just
I think this is also a time in the Soviet Union, like where like, you know, they're making advancements and they're trying to push forward, not only like the space race, but like human endurance and like what man can do and like what obstacle man can
we can overcome.
Yeah, what humans can overcome. But yeah, so he very well could have been a chaperone, or he could have been someone who was like actually making sure they did what they were supposed to do. But it just seemed kind of odd that
he was assigned to this.
He was assigned to this thing. Yeah. So there's a theory that suggests that he was selected to go by the KGB because he was a former person in the military during World War II. But he's assigned along with another member of the group, and this is actually true. Georgi, he had previously, before this trip, several years before this expedition, he helped clear up a radioactive leak at a secret Soviet nuclear facility. And that is true. That's like he took part in cleaning up a leak that happened at a
Is that why there was
Soviet facility.
Is that why there was nuclear waste or nuclear stuff? Because he just had it on him still?
It's possible.
I mean, they would have been smart enough to clean that stuff up though.
Yeah, but then maybe like he kept he would have not have worn his actual clothes there, but I don't know, who knows?
Or was there, the thing I think about when you say that about the radioactivity, you keep on coming back to that.
And apparently that cleanup that he took part in was like almost to the level of like Chernobyl.
Okay. Was the stream radioactive from some type of runoff from, because like even there's plenty of cities around even America that they had enrichment facilities that are still radioactive to this day, or like they tried to clean them up. And I mean, the water may have been just, if this is far enough in the mountains, they may have had a military facility that was enriching uranium or something.
They're passing all kinds of minerals that might have had like some sort of interaction or like contamination.
But the other guys weren't contaminated though. The other 5 weren't.
No, they just found it on a pair of clothes, not on an actual person.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so this is just
one of the clothes that someone was wearing. Okay. Yeah. So he had helped clean up a secret nuclear facility. It suggested they were both hired by the KGB, put in with this group. They're supposed to meet up with CIA agents in the Ural Mountains, take pictures of CIA agents while handing over fake sensitive information.
Wait, who said this?
This is a theory.
Okay.
And it went south, and the CIA ended up killing everyone.
I mean, in the Cold War, it's always going to be the CIA is the reason why something goes
espionage.
They're going to use it. I mean, the same thing that happened in America. We used that to scare our citizens. They did the same thing.
I mean, stuff like that did happen, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it didn't, but obviously that's going to be one of the main theories, so that they use both sides use whatever they can to scare each other.
Yeah, any kind of mystery or something that's not fully understood during this time, I feel like that's always something thrown out there, like
for both
espionage. Yeah, both sides for sure. And then we're going to start getting a little more credible things. On July 11th, 2020, the Ural Federal District, where all this happened. This is like part of this area.
What year was this?
2020.
Okay.
They included in a study that avalanche was the official cause of death. But again, however, some people deny this because there's no traces of an avalanche happening.
Yeah, they're not under an avalanche.
Yeah.
They're all just hanging out. It's like the avalanche like came and left.
Just a ghost avalanche.
I would believe more that it was the party missile than it was an avalanche. Which, TM.
But in 2021, so only a few years ago, 2 Swedish scientists and their team found strong evidence that supported an avalanche. Different kind of avalanche. Based on a series of models they ran.
Fake avalanche.
They ran.
It's one of those non-avalanches. Never happened.
using photos from the site,
Nunya
historical records. It was a slab avalanche that happened, which I've never heard of.
We just make this up. Nunya avalanche. Nunya business.
So when I said earlier, the crew, like the trekkers, they dug into the side of the mountain slope at night in order to brace themselves from the wind, to protect themselves
the
from the
snow.
Wind. Yeah,
They weren't digging dirt; they were digging the snow.
Snow, yeah, and the side of the slope of the mountain. In doing so, they must have caused a chain reaction, resulting in this type of avalanche. Snow kept building, wind kept blowing, and eventually snow slabs started to slide, and then eventually falling onto the tent, which then eventually crushed the tent.
But then magically disappear, and everybody showed up a couple days later, or weeks later, to find them.
Well, because there's like the idea. I'm not doing this justice. There's a lot of science that I'll post in the resources.
So the thing they dug, causes the snow to
because of what they did by digging in, they caused like a chain reaction to happen over time. So they dug in the side of this mountain on a slant. There's a space here where like the tent's right here, and in doing so, snow kept building because it kept snowing, wind kept blowing. So basically sheets of snow or slabs kept slowly sliding down. There is enough of an angle, not 30 degrees, but enough of an angle.
It built up a steeper angle.
Yeah, it kept making it worse and worse. And then snow, and they're sleeping during this time, I'm assuming. Snow kept falling, sliding on top of the tent, making it more weight, give it more weight, eventually like causing the tent to give way. And then eventually in time, I think this is something that's supposed to happen over like several hours, maybe more.
If they're there for 2 days.
There's enough weight that would just collapse the tent, crushing the people on the inside, some of the people on the inside, which might explain
freaking out and
the cracked skull, the ribs. So they're theorizing, though, that if this happened, the ones who were injured were dragged away by the people that weren't injured
and thrown off the cliff.
I say, I think when
they drag, they're like, "Oh, screw it."
I think when they say ravine, it's not like a cliffside. It's like a small, like kind of like bed.
Either way,
like a creek bed or something like that.
They're just like dragged away.
But they were dragged away to safety out of this from things getting worse. Some who might have been injured were put by the fire. The fire was lit for them.
Yeah, and these other guys walked back.
Yeah,
to get this.
Try to get back, maybe to get some stuff. And then the guys that died by the fire, their clothes were taken, so the other people could survive. Because at this point, their tent was caved in, along with all their equipment to dig it out. And that would be enough force that they claimed would have been equal to a car accident on some of these people.
When it finally hit them.
When it finally just caved in on them. Enough snow, enough weight. They said, like they said in the article that I was reading, that the science article that these two Swedes did, that like it's as if someone just kept taking snow from one spot and just dumping it on another spot, and just eventually just kept piling up, and just crushed their tent and beating people inside. Some of the people.
But
inside.
the tent was still there when they.
It was, but it was crushed. It was under snow, so that like the guy that found him, Mikhail, had to dig the tent out because with the equipment he had.
That makes sense now.
Yeah. But my question is though, why were some of them some of them didn't even have clothes on in the first place?
Well, you said maybe the guys by the fire gave it to the other ones going back.
Yeah.
But who else didn't have clothes on? Just those two.
I think it was just those two. But there's something I came across like.
I mean, they're Russian. They're badass. They're just probably sleeping like that. Like we don't need blankets or anything or clothes at night.
Yeah. So that's just a theory of why the clothes might have been like taken from a bed. Right. They might have not had clothes on to begin with.
It seems like.
But why? But if they did take the clothes from the dead, were they not wearing clothes then either?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that'd be right.
So why?
Or do they have double clothes on?
Maybe. But then why wouldn't they be wearing clothes? That's what I find odd. So I found something. I came across something. I don't know. It's called paradoxical undressing.
Paradoxical undressing.
It's something that happens with hypothermia. I have
heard of that. Yeah.
Where you get so cold and something happens with I think viscosity of your blood or something like that. I didn't look too much into it. It was like, I don't know, that your body your brain confuses your brain into thinking that you're hot, so you take your clothes off.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be why they left the tent without any clothes on, because it might have been at a time they were in the tent thinking
this is in combination with the crushing thing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So okay. I mean, that's
all. I only found one thing talking about that as a possibility. I was like, oh, that's all I got, man.
So,
what do you think is a most likely scenario of what happened to these people?
I would say the avalanche would be unlikely, but next to the Yeti and the party missile, I think those are the most unlikely. But I think the crushing, now that you explain it like the way that the snow piled up over time and that it can crush them, especially if they're stuck here for a couple of days or a day or two.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I don't know why they're all strewn about. Like, how did the other 4 get down by the river? Did they try to run away?
So those were the ones that are most injured. So I'm thinking that they were dragged furthest away from it, since they're like,
or were they just like in shock and they were frozen,
like into the woods where they get more coverage, because like there's like tree lines, so they went further into the woods. I believe
for the wind or something.
Yeah, for more protection. I'm guessing.
Yeah, it just seems like those 4. Maybe they wandered off after the other ones left and the 2 guys by the fire died or something or maybe they didn't actually feel because you're frozen, like you're so cold, maybe they didn't actually feel getting those injuries.
And that did see some people talking about, like, you don't really realize what happened to your body.
Yeah. You're in shock. And maybe they took off to get water, maybe they took off to go, they knew like, oh, if we go this way, the tents are over here.
Yeah.
They were confused.
Sure.
I do like, I mean, it seems like the radioactive issue is kind of just like a coincidence.
Yeah, but why would
because maybe Simeon or whatever his name was it him that was radioactive or the whole group?
I didn't see who had the.
So maybe he was working in a lab that had radioactive material in it, and so it just so happened that he wore those clothes on the trip. I think that's kind of like a thing. It's just kind of like it's coincidence. We don't really know, but I think now that you say like it's just a series of unfortunate events of like. It was probably happening so fast. It was dark out. Everybody's disoriented. They're trying to help each other. Yeah. But at the same time, not realizing how disoriented they are.
Right.
It's so cold, so windy, so much snow. I mean, snow during the day when it's a blizzard in America is like a nightmare. And we're not, I mean, you go up into Russia and like the northern parts of Russia where they seem to be in the mountains and are in a blizzard. Blackout conditions at night. I mean, it has to be so disorienting.
Oh my God, yeah. You can't see anything.
Like, how would they even know what way they came?
I'm guessing they left. It looked like they left all their equipment, like flashlights.
They just ran. So it had to be something so extreme.
Like they had to cut themselves out.
But even if they had the paradoxical undressing, are they so that their brain isn't thinking about grabbing a tool with them, or don't even go out the door, just cut up? So maybe it was a common. I guess now when you say it like that, you really think about it, paradoxical undressing makes sense. But then you realize
like a shock to your body or something like that.
They had to be so disoriented that they cut themselves out. So they cutting themselves out to get out of the tent.
Right.
Makes sense on the avalanche side. And now that you're saying that it's like this slab avalanche.
Yeah.
It seems like that needs more research.
Yeah, it's like a sheet. There's a kind of slowly, and they just kind of then this one builds on top of that one. This one builds on top of that one.
They dug their own grave, kind of thing.
Yeah,
they just kind of caused.
When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that sucks," because they were doing what they were taught to do by digging in to the side like that. But people didn't think at that time avalanches were prevalent in that area, so they didn't think that would be an issue.
Or that avalanche thing was that slab avalanche thing probably was so rare.
Yeah. But this is I'm totally, I think that's kind of what sells me is this because like genuine science is done and like to arrive at this conclusion. But I keep going back to when the student Mikhail looked inside the tent. He said like their shoes were like neatly piled together. It looked like food had just been cutting, like they weren't ready to eat dinner.
They took off right away.
Yeah,
like it was almost like like we got to go.
Yeah.
When
you think like they realized their tent was being crushed at some point?
Maybe it all happened at the same time.
Yeah.
Like the snow built up on itself.
Yeah.
They kind of like had their own like little cove, and the snow was building up on top, and eventually it just came down when enough got piled on top of that.
Yeah.
Because it was creating like a shell. over the tent.
Okay.
Maybe. So they dug in. The slabs are coming down, like they say, here's our tent.
Yeah.
And then eventually it's piling up this way. And eventually this rounded area that they dug out gives way. But again, I have no idea. Because it'd be so specific to that situation.
Yeah.
That you have to be there to actually understand it or know.
Yeah. And apparently they looked at the pictures that were taken to try and get the best idea or the most specific spot of where their tent was. Like they get the weather conditions right when they did these models. Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like it's such a specific thing to happen. Like the right things have to happen, or the wrong things. I
would want to see if there's any instances of this happening again. The same situation, like these slab things. Are they known?
Yeah. Yeah, they're known to happen, but like I don't think it's a common thing.
Right. Like the situation has to be perfect.
Yeah. Right.
It's kind of like everything has to be the right way. Like the wind has to be drilling a certain way. The snow had to be piling up a certain way. Thickness, water content.
Yeah, they looked at the weather forecast to like figure this stuff out, and like so it's like a perfect storm of everything.
I would want to know how
they did.
I would really want to know how those 4 got down away from the fire.
Yeah.
How did they start that fire?
So there's two down by the fire.
Yeah, but how did they start that fire originally? Because it looks like the 3 went left the fire to go back and get supplies. Who started that fire and how? Did someone have? I guess someone had to have had something on them.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, I mean,
if the other ones are closed,
I'm assuming they know to like start a fire. Like I said, there's a branch next, or like a.
But then the paradoxical undressing doesn't make sense then,
right?
Because then they'd be too hot to start a fire.
Yeah. Or maybe the ones who had clothes are like, no, dude, you're gonna freeze to death. You're almost naked. Let's start you a fire.
Right. But stay here. We're gonna go.
Yeah. But it was where those 2 that were by the fire. They didn't have clothes on.
And Sasquatch is here, so
they didn't have. From our side, they didn't have any injuries to them. I don't believe, right? Is that
I didn't hear any. I just heard the guys by the river and the one guy with the head trauma.
Yeah, both were just in their underwear and dead by a campfire.
Well, this is a long one, so I'm going to say thank you, Jordan, for bringing us to our attention, giving us a little peep into the world of Dyatlov Pass. It is, I mean, when you said Dyatlov Pass, I knew what it was. As far as like, I knew there was something that went down. People died hiking, like, and I knew it was cold.
Yeah.
I know the exact story and all the different. Cold. I know it was cold. It's a cold place. I know the coldness. But there's also, the whole story about. I didn't know about all the other specifics of the different theories and where they were found spread out.
That's weird.
And the injuries and that one guy that I didn't know about the party missile. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, who knows a thing? That's awesome.
Yeah, I gotta buy one of those. So I want to say thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you, Jordan, for the story again. Thank you to our to the band Bethlehem for our theme music.
Yeah.
There's a link in the show notes, link in the however you're watching this in the description and the show notes, link to their music. And I think at the end, it's the music you hear at the beginning and the end of the show. We have social media up and running so far, just Facebook and Twitter, or X or whatever it's called now.
So stupid.
We have YouTube up and running. We have all of our links on and if you go to the mysteriousPals.com, it takes you directly to our link tree, which then
all the podcasts
links to every podcast platform. Which, if you're listening to this podcast, you would know what podcast you're using. But if you're on YouTube, there's links to YouTube, links to our social media, any other information that you would want to know how to get in contact with us. Our email address is in the description or in the show notes. Especially all of the resources you used today is there as well, to follow up with any of that if you're interested. And next week we'll be back. Will be a spooky
day before Halloween.
Day before Halloween. Supposedly it's going to go up.
It'll be a good one.
Based on learning how things get posted and everything, it'll be around the day before Halloween or the day of Halloween at some point. But again, I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
And we will be back next week with another episode. That episode is a mystery. So again, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Joey's mom. This has been the Mysterious Pals. We love you and thank you and good night.
Yeah, thank you.